Okay, we're good.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to call to order the Judiciary Committee public hearing. If folks, I'm getting a tiny bit of feedback. I just want everybody to double check that their computers are silenced. So nobody should have their microphones on, and we should have volume off. Okay. All right, so this is our first, I guess, hybrid public hearing and committee meeting for the Judiciary Committee, so welcome. Before us today, we have 27 nominees for various judicial positions. We will start with each nominee. We'll call them up one by one. You'll have 3 minutes to make an opening statement, and then we will entertain questions from the committee. Any remarks from my co-chair or the ranking members?
We're doing this. I just want to say that just because we're in the dark doesn't mean that the legislature in general is in the dark. So, good morning, everybody.
All right. That went over like a lead balloon. Okay. All right. First up will be Alice Alfano of Suffield, who has been nominated to be a judge of the Superior Court. Ms. Alfano, you can come up to the microphone there. Feel free to remove your mask while you're testifying.
Thank you.
And you have a few minutes for an opening statement, if you'd like. Actually, first I need you to raise your right hand. Sorry about that.
So stand,
Stand and raise your right hand. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. You'd think it was my first time doing this. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information you provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or on a penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead and have a seat, and whenever you're ready, you can begin.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Winfield, Chairman Staffstrom, Ranking Members Kissel and Fishbein, and to all of the distinguished Judiciary Committee members. I am deeply honored and humbled by the opportunity to appear before you this morning in support of my nomination by Governor Lamont to become a Superior Court judge. My name is Alice Alfano. I have practiced law in Connecticut for over 34 years in both the public and private sectors. After exposure to many varied aspects of the law as a young attorney, my practice has focused in the area of education law for approximately the past 30 years. I have been on all sides of that table, representing families of children, primarily with special needs, representing the State Department of Education as a mediator and legal consultant, and currently representing boards of education throughout the state on varied student matters with an emphasis on special education. I consider myself very fortunate to be able to say that I've truly enjoyed my practice and have found it meaningful and professionally rewarding. I'm lucky to work with talented and giving colleagues, committed clients, and I do also want to recognize I've had some wonderful mentors over the years and associates, and particularly assistants for whom I am extremely appreciative and grateful. And yet, for the past number of years, I have been driven to serve as a Superior Court judge for our state. My years of experience practicing law have honed my ability to look at issues from all perspectives and to focus on being a listener first and then a speaker, with clear voice and analysis only when it is my turn. I believe that our legal system remains the critical vehicle in providing our citizens on all sides of an issue with the opportunity to be heard and have their rights upheld. Over time, I've developed the skills and demeanor to serve the people in the role of judge with honesty and compassion. I respectfully ask for your support of my nominations, and I truly appreciate your time and consideration today.
Thank you. Question from Representative O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not sure exactly in this hybrid world what I'm supposed to push or not push. So Am I correct in keeping my laptop muted?
Your laptop muted. Keep your laptop muted. Keep your microphone on, and look into the laptop screen there. There you
Okay.
Just to add to that, for anyone in the room, when you speak, your microphone is muted, your sound is down,
Good, right?
and the microphone, the physical microphone in the room is what you use.
Thank you. I apologize, Mr. Chair, in this hybrid world. Thank you very much for your opening statement. And congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you.
A question that Justice McDonald used to ask here many years ago. And I actually was on judicial selection, so I know getting through the process and how it goes. And I congratulate you on that and your nomination again. So the question that Justice McDonald always used to ask, and what I'm going to ask, is robitis, the issue of robitis. And, you know, coming through judicial selection, as you know, for those that are watching online, you know, the candidates have to have the right experience, the right intellect, the appropriate intellect, and a temperament that's appropriate for being a judge. And Justice McDonald always asked whether or not you can assure us that you would not be afflicted with the condition of robitis once you're elevated to the bench. And it's a hard question to answer, but it's asked of all, because I don't know if you saw yesterday on the floor of the House, there was a judge that had some concerns about robitis and getting through the process. How would you assure us that you will not be afflicted with robitis should you be put on the bench?
Thank you for the question, Representative O'Day. I am familiar with that term just in watching your committee in action, and I understand it to mean that when one dons the robe, that taking on arrogance or a sense of superiority simply because you're in that position of wearing the robe. And I think that, to me, wearing of the robe is an act of humility. I look at the position of judge as being one of service to the people, in this case of Connecticut, and of course employed by the state, but really of service to the people of the state. And I look at it as just the opposite of something to be superior about, but really to be humbled by.
Thank you. And that's a very good answer for those that are watching and coming up, because humility, I think, is the key to being not only a judge, but also a public servant. So I thank you for that answer. And the other question that we would ask on judicial selection, and I've asked here, you know, are you willing to serve anywhere that that you're assigned at least 9 to 5? Because this is a job as a judge that's not only 9 to 5, but at the very least needs to be 9 to 5 anywhere you're assigned. Are you willing to go anywhere that you're assigned to be a judge at least 9 to 5?
Absolutely, with honor and pride. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, very much.
Thank you. Senator Kissel.
Okay, we'll see if this works. Attorney Alfano, it's great to see you. I'm delighted that our first nominee before us this morning is from my district. And while you're aware that I was happy to meet with you and write on your behalf, certainly you're here on your own merits. And I claim no magic powers to influence the process, but probably would look at it as just sort of good karma, good balance in the universe. We don't have enough judges from North Central Connecticut, in my opinion. And also, you're familiar with the world of politics. It's my understanding that your father-in-law, who passed a few years ago, was the predecessor to my predecessor. So my predecessor was the former Majority Leader Cornelius O'Leary, and the predecessor to him was Senator Alfano. Is that correct?
It is.
Yeah, so it's sort of nicely all tied up. But what really impressed me the most about you, and I know that you've always sort of thought it would be fabulous to end up as a jurist, and I think you'll make a fabulous jurist. But I think the unique perspective that you bring at this critical time in our state's history is that we've been having problems to one degree or another, depending on your perspective, with juveniles and juvenile crimes, juvenile delinquency, and certainly the pandemic hasn't been any help to that. But there's a lot of other pressures, technology, just pushing people through the education system rather than making sure that they've attained an adequate level of education for each grade that they pass through, and broken families, one person at home trying to juggle 2, 3 jobs, maybe a grandmother raising the grandchildren. So just a huge amount of things. And what's great about your candidacy and you being before us is that you have all this expertise regarding young people. And I'm just wondering, given the challenges that young people face today, for example, I'm sure you won't be surprised to know that I've learned through this committee and others, and it's heartbreaking that adolescent girls' suicide rate has gone up nearly 40% in the last few years. And it's not all pandemic driven, but that hasn't helped, but certainly social media and other kinds of things. So the group that I'm concerned with primarily at this moment are our young people, our future. And I'm just wondering, what insights can you bring to your role? Typically, your first assignment is going to be in a GA. If you're like our mutual friend and Judge Armada, I think he, again, from Suffield, and I think his first assignment was a GA down in Bridgeport. Talk about Representative O'Day's question, 9 to 5. Well, when you live in one part of the state and you have to go all the way down, that's quite a commute, but he loves the job. But again, regarding our young people, what observations can you bring to the committee that will help you be a jurist in tackling those issues?
Well, in terms of legislation surrounding young people, I will leave that to all of you. But I will say that the past number of years of my legal career have been focused on children from all aspects, both from the Board of Education aspect currently, and by the way, I see those two as not really different sides, but as a circle of support for students. And I do think that our youth are particularly in need at this point in time of significant supports with mental health, with their educations, and all the way around. And that's an excellent use of the legislature's powers to be addressing that.
And I guess, and I don't want to belabor this, and we have a lot of nominees. I think we have 27 total for today. And again, this is, I mean, I love the building, love the Capitol, but 2C is sort of like my favorite hearing room for these. It just seems like we're far away from you and all the other nominees that we're going to speak to today. But while I appreciate that, what efforts would you make to try to get a handle on the resources that may or may not be available for our young people as you handle a lot of these complex cases, knowing that our state, and you can blame us, that has sort of been behind the needs of young people, especially in creating a state that has plenty of mental health services and professionals there to address some of these. And in fact, I've heard just recently that, for example, if a parent's worried about the mental health of their student child and they go to the school system and the school system does what they can, the waiting lists are like a month, 2 months out, which a lot of times is just too far away time-wise if the young person, especially an adolescent, is in imminent harm from stresses and problems in their own life. I mean, I don't want your first experiences as a judge, and I have every bit of confidence that you will pass through this process with flying colors. But I don't want you to be discouraged. So what creative ways, or what may have you seen in your legal career thus far that we may not have seen out there as a resource?
Well, I think that my legal experience has given me knowledge of all of the arsenal of resources that do exist, just by intersection with various community, school-based, more medical based resources that are available. And I think it's important for jurists who sit in the position of being able to um, work with children are aware of all of the resources. And there are a number of them out there. That it is true that our resources are overwhelmed at this point, but it doesn't always mean a long waiting period. I think so. I guess in answer to your question, Senator, it's a matter of being aware that any judge who's serving in a position of offering or discussing supports for a juvenile needs to be aware of everything that exists and of the paths to take to access those resources, which is something that my career over time has given me some information about.
Well, I want to thank Governor Lamont for all his selections and his staff and his council. I congratulate you on your nomination. I know that this has been a passion for you and a lifelong dream in many respects. As I indicated to you, I work for you. I'm your state senator, and I'm extremely happy and proud that my constituent sits here before me being nominated to the bench. It's a tremendous honor. The salary is completely adequate. The benefits are marvelous. And your ability to give back to society is extraordinarily unique. We do the best we can as legislators regarding laws and regulations. And indeed, I'm very happy with my office and my aide, Kate McAvoy, and all the others that work with me as far as personalized ability to try to get them through the difficult process sometimes, and unfortunately, of state government. But you will be making determinations on a daily basis with a unique and singular impact on individuals' lives. And as Representative O'Day said, I don't have any doubts that you will have robitis. I'm sure you won't. But always be mindful of the fact that coming to court, while you have vast experience in that and working through the judicial process, is a unique process for a regular individual. And it's scary. And I have told people that come and testify before us in committees that when I support a bill or I go and testify before a committee on the other side, and I've been lucky enough to be a state senator for 30 years, I still get scared being on that side as to what my colleagues who I've served with for so long may ask me, because I just don't want to look stupid or ill-informed or just make a dopey mistake. And so people that come before you, that's a huge life situation. Even if it's something in a GA where they're making an application for accelerated rehabilitation, they're concerned if you deny it is that they're going to have a record that's going to follow them for the rest of their life. And it's terrifying. And so always be mindful that the people that come before you, or even the young attorneys, you're now going to be in a much different position, and be sensitive to that. And I know you'll be humble, but don't forget where you came from, because while you have self-confidence and a breadth of knowledge and an ability to see intricate problems through to their conclusion, and that you will seek to attain justice, they're just frankly happy that they found the right parking spot in the right place at the right time to throw themselves before your wisdom. And as long as you're always mindful of the fact that what you will do day in and day out is a unique privilege, but for those that come before you, it's a once in a lifetime, hopefully, experience that is life changing. I think we'll all be far better as your career moves forward on the bench. So congratulations, Counselor, and I wish you the very best of luck. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Senator Winfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Attorney Alfano. I'll be brief. I recognize the number of people we have and how long we will be here if we do. Very long. I did not say that. I just wanted to go back to Representative O'Day's conversation with you about robitis, and I'm sure that you are aware of this, but there are plenty of people who come before us and talk about not having a sense of superiority. And when I think about Robitis and the concept of humility, I think of it as a box that's not just I'm superior, you're lesser than me, but I think of it as things as an inability to see things, an inability to see behaviors that aren't necessarily about superiority. Right? We have judges in our courts who I think they're protecting the court by operating in certain ways as they interact even with the attorneys and not the people who are standing in the courts. But those things have impact on the people who are in front of them, and even beyond the people in the court. People get the message of how certain judges operate and are afraid to be in front of those judges. And so my hope for you and for anyone who today or in the future is seeking to be placed on the bench with that immense responsibility is that from time to time, you not only remember the issue of superiority versus people who some might think of as at a lower station, but you also think that it is appropriate to seek information from those around you about how you are being perceived. And you take some time to do some reflection, which is not always, unfortunately, what we see. And congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you for your words, Senator.
Thank you. Representative Fishbein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you.
I see that in your area of practice that you've been involved with special education matters, and I know that's many times God's work. I have a niece who's severely autistic. I know there was problems with her school. She was sent to, they weren't caring for her, and through legal counsel, she got a better schooling. And now, we triumph when, Emma eats pizza, is able to swim in the pool, and all of those things would not have been able to happen without legal counsel to get her into a good school system. So I give you a lot of credit for practicing in that area. One of my concerns is over the last few years, there's been individuals that have been appointed to the bench that got there and said for whatever reason they didn't want to do it anymore. And there's a lot of resources that go into putting a judge on the bench, and judicial is relying upon that. There's cases assigned. And I noticed when I reviewed the backup that you have no experience of being in court. And that's accurate?
I think that might be an overstatement, particularly in answering the most recent questionnaire. Representative, I was trying to really speak about the past 5 years because that was my read on the question. But certainly in my younger years, I had short calendar, housing court regularly, some criminal court experience, and some juvenile court experience.
Okay.
In more recent years, it's more been because I practice at the administrative level. So it's more been if one of our cases at the administrative level gets appealed, it gets appealed to either Superior Court or federal court.
Okay, and then you're involved in that process?
Yes.
Okay. So when it says, because it is a confusing question. I mean, it says, have you regularly appeared in court? And, I guess if I was reviewing, okay, what's the next question? And the next question talks about 5 years.
Right.
So you sort of put the two together and say, oh, that's what they're talking about. So you can give me a reasonable level of assurances that you have some knowledge of what being in court is like.
I think that's very fair to say. Most recently, I was in family court a couple of times within the past few months, actually, on some pro bono work, but actually in court, representing the client in front of the court. I've been in court over the past couple of years in different civil and I think juvenile matters, representing education clients who had an issue, whether it was they were subpoenaed in or some records issue or something like that.
In your appearances in family court over the last few months, have those been in person or remote?
Person.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And congratulations on your nomination, and I look for good things in the future. So
Thank
you,
you,
Mr. Chairman.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? I don't see any. So, Ms. Alfano, I want to congratulate you on your nomination, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
Next up will be Stephanie Dimiani. Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. If you could raise your right hand for me. do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information provided to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or on a penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable, and then
Thank
you
you.
can give an opening statement.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Winfield, Chairman Staffstrom, Vice Chair Flexer, Vice Chair Blumenthal, ranking members Kissel and Fishbein, and other distinguished committee members. It is an honor to have the opportunity to appear before you today. I would like to thank Governor Lamont for nominating me to serve as a judge of the Superior Court. I am truly grateful for this opportunity and for his confidence in me. By way of background, I am 45 years old. I'm a resident of North Haven, where I've lived my entire life. I am married. I have one son who is 5 years old. I attended Providence College and graduated in 1999, and then attended Quinnipiac University School of Law and graduated in 2002. I have been an attorney for approximately 20 years. In the beginning of my career, I worked as a private attorney with a primary focus on civil matters, and for the past 18 years, I've dedicated my career into public service as an assistant state's attorney for the Division of Criminal Justice with a focus on domestic violence matters. I started my career as a prosecutor in Bridgeport, and I am currently serving in New Haven. I have served on the board of the Center for Family Justice in Bridgeport and on the Fatality Review Board. I have written the Domestic Violence Handbook for the Division of Criminal Justice and have provided training on various topics. I have been very fortunate in my life and in my career to have been surrounded by so many incredible people. They have shaped who I am today. My father was a Superior Court judge for many years, and it was a blessing to have had the opportunity to watch and learn from him. In addition, I would be remiss if I did not mention my mother and my husband, who have always been there to support me. I have a great respect for the position of a Superior Court judge and want to continue my public service career as a judge. I have been lucky to appear in front of many judges who have taught me to always be respectful and even-tempered. I have also learned that the best judges are always knowledgeable, well-prepared, and listen attentively to litigants with an open mind. Over the years, I've seen the impact of the actions and decisions these judges have had on litigants, a fact that highlights the awesome responsibility of a judge. The role of a judge in administering justice in our society is indispensable, and I would be honored to have the privilege of using that office to make a significant contribution to our state. If I am given the privilege to serve as a judge of the Superior Court, I will make sure that every person who appears before me is treated with dignity and respect. I will work hard using the lessons of my upbringing, background, training, experience, and overall desire to make a difference to ensure that every person who appears before me feels that they were treated fairly. It is an honor to be nominated, and if approved, I look forward to upholding the confidence bestowed upon me by Governor Lamont and this committee. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the committee? Representative Fishbein?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning.
Did we go to law school together? Because I graduated like right about that time too.
I was trying to figure that out, but I don't think we were in the same class.
Okay.
Were you at nighttime?
Yeah, I was.
I was during the day, so we might have passed each
Okay,
other.
and I had night and day, and I can't figure out when I graduated.
Right.
So
It's okay. I tried to forget when I graduated. It's a long time ago now.
Okay. Yeah, your face doesn't, but it perked up. I have no questions for you. I just, congratulations on your nomination. I reviewed the backup, and I have no questions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Representative Callahan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I may turn this over to Representative O'Day since you're a Providence College graduate. So
I thought he left. I was
which was unusual, but since I started, I'll finish. Thank you for coming in today, and I did know your father when I worked in the courts, and a very distinguished judge.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your nomination. I do have to ask you as well. My father, having served on the courts, I heard it at home as well, and was very familiar with Representative O'Day's term, robitis.
Yes.
When my father went to a court, he started at the bottom and talked to the maintenance staff because they were just as important as the people who sat on the bench, he thought. So do you feel that way as well?
I do. My father always taught me that lesson. He always taught me the lesson that I'm there to serve the public. I've never felt that I was better than anybody, that anybody is better than me. I always treat people fairly. I work hard, never forget where I come from. And I don't think that a robe is really going to change anything about me.
That's good to hear. And as you probably may have heard from the previous nominee, you can Connecticut, and it is at least a 9 to 5 job. Are you okay with that? And will you?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you
very
Mr.
much.
Chair.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Palm?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. I'm sorry I'm not there in the room with you. Can you hear me all right?
I can. Good morning.
Good morning. I wanted to ask you two quick questions. Well, maybe not so quick. One is, since you have such expertise in domestic violence, can you talk a little bit about how the COVID pandemic has affected that part of your work? Because I think we've all been given to understand that restrictions and close quarters have given rise to more of that behavior.
Yes, we have definitely seen in the court system, especially in New Haven, a rise in domestic violence over the COVID period. We were very active in New Haven with the judges, the family relations. We have an awesome staff there as far as victims advocates that we tried to, in the clerk's office as well, we tried to get as many cases on the docket as we could, when we could, with regards to protective orders or any kind of safety concerns. We tried to do the best that we could to get as many people access to the court during that time period, whether it was remote or in person. We were open in the Superior Court in New Haven for specific matters. But as far as domestic violence, we did see a rise in numbers, and we all tried to work together throughout the entire time when we were working from home to try to address the important cases. We had a special form that was put in files at arraignment so that it would come to my attention or one of the other prosecutors in my office if there was a safety concern that it needed to be taken as a priority matter. So we have a very good team, especially in New Haven, that I worked with, and I know that there was a big increase, and we did our best to try to make sure that safety was a priority.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think everybody on this committee is deeply concerned about domestic violence. It's a thing we deal with often, and it's really good to know that you were trying to expedite those cases. My second question is that I have on some good authority that you are known as a person who balances the needs of the victims with the potential rehabilitation of the offenders. And I think it's unusual that's probably a difficult line to straddle. Can you discuss a little bit your process for that and making sure that domestic violence victims get what they need, as well as seeing the potential for rehabilitation?
Yes, I have been very lucky in working in both of the courthouses that I've worked on, and that I've had a specialized docket that we've worked on. So we've had a team approach and, working very closely with victims advocates and very closely with the court in assessing the cases based upon someone's history, based upon the victim's attitude, injuries, taking into account offender accountability along with victim safety, and then trying to give opportunities where it's appropriate to address mental health, substance abuse, domestic violence, keeping in mind victim safety, to try to give the tools so that if the person goes back to the same family, that we will not have any kind of recidivism, or going into the future to make sure that we don't have any other individuals who are injured.
Thanks. And then finally, I guess it's not appropriate for me to ask you to comment on a bill that we had a hearing on, but one of the things I think that's of concern is the disclosure of reports. And I'm trying to figure out a way to ask this question without leading the witness or referring to a bill that you're not here to speak about. But do you have any kind of an opinion on the general practice of, how do you approach protecting the privacy of defendants and victims, as well as at the same time giving the court enough information to proceed in a fair and reasonable way?
Well, in that regard, I know that we get a lot of our input from the victims advocates. And so when the victims advocates speak to the victims, there's certain information that they are allowed to give to us, and then other information that they do not. Or they'll give us information that, or even when I meet with victims individually, they'll tell me information that's for our use in decision making, but not so much to be turned over to the court or to the defendant, because there are safety concerns there. So we do take into account all of the input that is given. I don't usually turn over information to the defendant unless there is permission, or if the court does order me to do so. But I try to protect that information as much as I can, because understanding there are safety concerns that I have to be aware of.
Thank you. Thank you for your sensitivity to that. I appreciate it very much. That's it for me. Best of luck to you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Senator Haskell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Attorney Damiani. Am I saying that correctly, ma'am?
That's how my grandmother would say it. That is correct.
All right. Well, congratulations on your nomination, and thank you for your answers to the previous questions of Representative Palm. I find your work on the issue of domestic violence to be really inspiring, as we do our work here in the Judiciary Committee to tackle that same issue. I did want to ask you very briefly, if you don't mind, on question 13. You mentioned having published an article called "Congressional Attempt to Address the Issue of Physician-Assisted Suicide," and I did my best to find that article online, but I ran into some paywall issues. So I'm not asking you, of course, your personal opinion, but it's an issue that is of intense interest to me and other members of this committee, and I trust that that you would rule from the bench, independent of your own political, your own opinions on this issue. But I am curious what that article had to say and your perspective on that issue as it relates to the law. Thank you.
So basically, when I was in law school, I was lucky enough to be put onto the Health Law Journal. And as an undergraduate degree, I was a health policy and management major. And at that time, I had some idea of possibly going into health law related business. So I had to pick a topic, and at that time, that was a hot topic. So it was an exercise, an educational exercise. I picked that topic. I had to argue both sides, and then ultimately, I had to pick a side. And so it really had no bearing on what my opinion is, and it would definitely not interfere with my ability to be a judge and apply the law to the facts, or have to recuse myself on the issue. It was an educational exercise that I had to argue both sides and then ultimately pick a side at the end.
Understood. Well, that's good to hear. Thank you so much, Attorney Damiani, and congratulations again on your nomination. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Representative O'Day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your testimony. Another question I'd like to ask is who you would model, or who you believe is a jurist that you would model yourself after if you became a judge. Since your father was a judge, I'm not going to ask you that question.
I think it's hard not to pick him, actually.
Exactly. So just for the other candidates, be ready for that question. But no, it is important, and I appreciate the questions that Representative Callahan asked about working 9 to 5 wherever you're assigned. Yes. And at least 9 to 5. Right. I assume you work more than that now, yes. Correct? Yes. So, and I did appreciate your robitis response. So I just want to thank you for your testimony, and go Friars.
Thank you very much. Yes. Right. Thank you very much. Go Friars.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I was going to try to find a way to sneak that in today.
We all assumed it was coming up. Representative Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You don't have to try to find a way to sneak that in. Representative O'Day has a book on how to get the Friars into just about any conversation. So thank you for being here today.
We're all like that. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Congratulations. I was looking at your backup in the years that you spent in the criminal justice system. In the last 5 years, no cases have gone to trial. I find that to be commonplace. I recognize that that's pretty much how it goes. I'll tell you that two of my favorite judges I've ever worked with, one came from the public defender's office and one came from the state's attorney's office, and they were both my favorite. What could you tell us, in your opinion, is the role of the judge in the pretrial conferences, which, as I think we can agree, is how most criminal cases are adjudicated?
So I've been lucky because, I've had the ability to work with a lot of good judges, and in pretrial conferences, I think both sides rely on the judge. Sometimes, the prosecutor, as myself, I would go in and I would make an argument, and the public defender or the defense attorney would then make the argument as to why they disagree or agree with the state's attorney. And it's a conversation in pretrial, which I think are the best pretrials, because a lot of times, there are a lot of, each case is not a cookie cutter case. So there's something different going on, and having the pretrial discussions is helpful because the judge can then give his or her opinion. The prosecutor or defense attorney or plaintiff's attorney, everybody is able to have a conversation to try to come up with the best possible outcome, so that everybody's interests are satisfied. In my situation, safety, accountability. And I think it's important to have the different perspectives, because everybody comes from a different place with different experience, and each case is different. Each person is different. So we have to take an interest. And by having the time to sit in a pretrial conference to just talk about all of the different issues, it makes a difference, as opposed to just calling a case on the record. And, sometimes the judge doesn't know enough, or, you find information out that that you didn't know before. So it helps to have that pretrial conference to just get the overall, all of the information, and try to come up with the most fair decision and the best way to proceed in each case. So I value them highly.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? Seeing none, Ms. Dimiani, congratulations
Thank you very
on
much.
your nomination.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Next up will be Eric Daniels. Mr. Daniels, if you might raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information provided this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or on a penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Go ahead and have a seat, and whenever you're ready, you can give us your opening statement.
Good morning, Chairman Winfield, Chairman Staffstrom, Ranking Members Kissel and Fishbein, and Honorable Members of the Joint Committee on Judiciary. My name is Eric Daniels, and I would like to open with a few words of thanks. First, to Governor Lamont for his trust and confidence in nominating me to serve as a judge of the Superior Court. And to each of you for allowing me to appear today to make these remarks and to answer your questions. I promise you that if I am confirmed as a Superior Court judge, I will work hard to justify the confidence that has been placed in me, and I will do my very best to serve the people of Connecticut. By way of personal background, I was born in Norfolk, Virginia, while my father served in the Navy. My family moved to Connecticut when my father accepted a teaching position at the University of Hartford. I was raised in Bloomfield, graduating from Bloomfield High School in 1979. After high school, I attended Brown University and then Boston College Law School. I've been married to my wonderful wife, Patricia, for nearly 28 years. We reside in Glastonbury, and together we have raised 3 amazing children. In terms of my legal career, I joined the law firm of Robinson & Cole in September of 1986, and I was elected partner in 1993. My practice has primarily focused on product liability work, large loss property subrogation, and business litigation. I've been fortunate to receive many honors and awards in my legal career, including the selection by my peers for inclusion in the Best Lawyers in America since 2016. In addition to my litigation experience, I'd like to highlight 3 things that I believe will help me as a judge should I be fortunate enough to be confirmed. First, while at Robinson & Cole, I've had significant administrative experience. In the year 2000, at the age of 37, I was elected managing partner of the firm. I served as managing partner of the firm until 2009, which makes me the longest serving managing partner in the long history of the firm. Other leadership positions at the firm have included chair of the hiring committee, chair of the litigation department, chair of the professional development committee, and partner in charge of the Hartford office. I believe these significant leadership positions will prepare me well for the administrative aspects of being a judge. Second, for nearly 30 years now, I've served as an attorney trial referee at Hartford Superior Court. In that role, I preside over pretrial conferences at the court on a monthly basis. I believe that experience has prepared me well for a judgeship, especially given the significant interaction with pro se litigants that I've experienced in that role. Finally, I've engaged in extensive community service and pro bono work with many nonprofit organizations in the greater Hartford region. I believe these efforts, which have been recognized through various awards, most recently with the National Conference for Community and Justice's Human Relations Award, highlight the compassion and empathy that I would bring to the bench, as well as the deep understanding of the community and its needs that I have developed. I'll close by saying that I am humbled and honored to be nominated. I have no doubt that being a judge would be the most exciting and rewarding phase of my legal career. Thank you again for this opportunity to address you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Representative Baudet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Daniels, good to see you.
Nice to see you again.
It's been a while. Congratulations on your nomination. As a question that I've been asking all candidates, knowing you, I know this is not an issue for you, but just for the benefit of others who don't know you, how can you assure this committee and the governor that you will not be afflicted with robitis should you get through the committee and sit on the bench?
Well, I can assure you that won't be the case. A few things I could point to in that regard. I think my service as an attorney trial referee, where, as you can appreciate, you play the role as a judge while you're presiding over those pretrial conferences. And the fact that I've done that since the Hartford Superior Court began that program in 1993, I think would give you some confidence that I have a sense of what it means to preside over proceedings and to act in a judicial manner in an unoffensive way. The other thing is, I think my leadership of the firm, law firms are unique. You don't have the authority to tell people we're going to do it this way simply because I say so. You have to govern in a much different way, convince people, build strong personal relationships. All the aspects of leadership in a law firm are contrary to the principle or notion of robitis. And finally, one of my great mentors when I started as an associate Robinson & Cole was Judge Janet Hall. And she instilled in me at a very early age this notion of treating everyone in the courtroom with respect and dignity. And so I have no doubt, I appreciate the question, I have no doubt that I would be able to conduct myself in a way that you all would be proud of.
And knowing you, I'm confident of that as well. I appreciate the response. And then my last question, I know we've got a lot of candidates, but you may be assigned somewhere far. And you're going to be asked to work at least 9 to 5. Would you have any problem going wherever you're assigned and working at least 9 to 5?
Yeah, not at all. I look forward to the challenge wherever it may lead me.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. It's nice to see you there, and I'm glad you got nominated. And thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Further questions or comments, Representative Fishbein?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I get you almost seem overly qualified. I say with all due respect. So I guess the question is why? You're doing great things, and being an ATR, admirable service from these many years. Why this now?
Well, I've been at Robinson & Cole for 36 years. This opportunity comes for me at an interesting point in my career where I feel ready for a new opportunity. I think being a judge would be an excellent marriage of my love for the law and my devotion to the community, and would allow me to finish off my legal career in a way that I would be proud to serve the people of the state of Connecticut.
In your background in product liability, when I heard that, I was thinking complex lit would be a great assignment. What two areas would you prefer to be a judge in? What kind of courts?
What kind of courts?
Yeah, like housing, family, civil, complex, juvenile.
Yeah,
do you have any preferences?
Well, I would say I think your observation is correct, that my background in terms of where I would be most familiar would certainly be on the civil side and including in perhaps the complex litigation docket. Having said that, I'm open to everything. I've even said to people that although I have no experience or very little experience in the criminal realm, I'd be very open to an assignment in the criminal courts. As a young associate, I did lots of pro bono landlord-tenant work in the housing courts, so I have some familiarity there. I've been involved in our firm's domestic violence restraining order project, so I have some familiarity with the family courts. Long-winded way of saying that I'd be open to anything, Representative.
Yeah, I mean, it's very refreshing. I wholeheartedly congratulate you on your nomination, and I look to see great things. And I think I did have a case in Hartford where you were the ATR about 5 years ago.
I hope I did a good job.
Yeah, no, you resolved the case. So, you know, I just putting the face to the position. I do have a recollection. So, but I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? Seeing none, Mr. Daniels, thank you for being with us. Congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Next up will be Robert Goldger. If you might raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, the information provided to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or on a penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable, and you can give us your opening statement whenever you're ready.
Can you hear me okay? Good morning, Chairman Winfield, Chairman Staffstrom, ranking members Kissel and Fishbein, and other distinguished committee members. My name is Robert Goldger, and first off, I'd like to thank Governor Lamont for nominating me to serve as a judge, and I pledge to work diligently on behalf of the good people of the state of Connecticut, and I am truly humbled by my nomination. I am a lifelong Connecticut resident who was born in Bridgeport and raised in Fairfield, where I attended public schools. My father worked at Textron in Stratford, and my mother was a teacher in the Bridgeport public school system. I have been married 28 years and have a daughter who's a sophomore in college. I began my legal career by working for the Connecticut Judicial Department in their Department of Legal Research, where I drafted legal memoranda used by Superior Court judges in rendering written opinions on matters of law arising chiefly from short calendar proceedings. From there, I went to work for a mid-sized firm for the next 10 years. My average work week would begin by me covering short calendar proceedings and then running back and forth to the GA. My afternoon would usually be consumed taking depositions, and evenings would often find me covering land use hearings in the various town halls in our area. We also represented the Bridgeport Board of Education, and I served as their prosecutor for expulsion hearings for many years. While at my former and current firms, I have had the opportunity to engage in extensive trial practice, covering both civil and criminal matters. I have also drafted and argued numerous appeals before our state appellate courts, arguing diverse topics ranging from criminal law to zoning to uninsured motorist coverage. I have been actively engaged in the practice of law for over 30 years and believe that I have experienced or witnessed almost every situation that can arise in court. I believe that this life experience will serve me well as a Superior Court judge. I have always treated my colleagues and clients with fairness and respect, and I will continue to do so as a Superior Court judge. In closing, I'd like to say that I've been truly blessed to have been fortunate enough to practice law here in the state of Connecticut. My practice has provided me with tremendous exposure to all kinds of people from all walks of life. The relationships I have formed along the way have enriched me greatly. I look forward with continued enthusiasm to putting all that I've learned in the practice of law to the service of the people of the state of Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Baudet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Goldger, good to see you.
Likewise.
I know the answer to this, and but for the sake of my colleagues, you've heard me ask the question about robitis. I know it's not going to be an affliction that you're going to have, knowing you the way I do, but just for the rest of the members of the committee, how can you assure us that you will not be afflicted with robitis once you get on the bench?
Well, basically life experience. I mean, I started off as a paper boy. I then went on to become a caddy, and then a dishwasher, then a cook, a waiter, a busboy. I worked for a moving company. I represent, people from all walks of life. My mother was a teacher in the inner city in Bridgeport. My father's family were immigrants. I don't see myself above anybody. And so the concept of somehow putting on a black robe and feeling different would not be attributable to me.
and knowing you, that's a great response, and I knew it was going to be a good response because the way you handle yourself as a litigant or representing litigants. The last question I have, real quick, you may be assigned somewhere far away and be asked to work at least 9 to 5. Would you have any problem doing that?
I have no problem putting in a full day wherever I go.
Well, thank you for those responses, and congratulations. It's good to see you there, and I'm looking forward to appearing before you on the bench. Take care.
Thank you, Representative O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments from the committee? Seeing none, Mr. Goldger, congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you, Representative Staffstrom.
Great to have folks from the Bridgeport area up here with us, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Next up will be Maria del Pilar Gonzalez. You might raise your right hand for me, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information you provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or in a penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. You can have a seat, and whenever you're ready, give us your opening statement, please.
Good morning, Chairman Winfield, Chairman Staffstrom, Ranking Members Kissel and Fishbein, and other distinguished committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today, and thank you to Governor Lamont for his trust in nominating me to serve as a judge of the Superior Court. My name is Pilar Gonzalez. I'm the only child of my parents who are here with me today. My father was born in Bogota, Colombia. He left there during a time when the country was in turmoil. Government corruption and violence was pervasive. By contrast, the United States represented a place of opportunity, fairness, and respect for the rule of law. It was there where he would pursue his education and career, and it was also where he would meet my mother, a lifelong Connecticut resident and the oldest of 6 children from a hardworking and loving family. She was the perfect ambassador to the American dream. Although my parents came from very different backgrounds, they shared the same core beliefs: the importance of hard work, integrity, treating people with respect, and giving back to one's community. I'm fortunate to have been raised by these 2 wonderful role models, and I'm endlessly grateful for their constant support. I became an assistant state's attorney in 2013 with my first assignment in the Appellate Bureau of the Chief State's Attorney's Office. I represented the state in criminal appeals in the appellate and Supreme Courts. From there, I went to GA 23 in New Haven, where I handled all types of criminal and motor vehicle matters, with a focus on domestic violence prosecutions. I thoroughly enjoyed the day-to-day challenges of working in one of the busiest courthouses in the state. In 2018, I began in my current position as an Assistant United States Attorney for the District of Connecticut. In this role, I handle matters during all stages of prosecution, from investigation to appeal. I currently serve in the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force and as the office's Violence Against Women Act coordinator. In addition to my case responsibilities, I'm active in the office's outreach efforts, including a middle school-based program that educates 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in our state's largest cities about the dangers of gun violence. I also take great pride as a member of Reentry Court, a program that assists and supports formerly incarcerated men in their return to the community. I find these aspects of my job to be as fulfilling as the casework itself. Socrates said this of judges: 4 things belong to a judge: to hear courteously, to answer wisely, to consider soberly, and to decide impartially. I've had the good fortune to witness those principles in action in our judicial system. I understand the importance of treating everyone in the courtroom with dignity and respect, approaching difficult decisions with patience and persistence, and allowing people to be heard in a meaningful way. My life and professional experiences have well prepared me for this awesome responsibility. I have great confidence in our judicial system, and if deemed fit by this committee, I will try every day to instill that same confidence in the people who come before me. Thank you, and I look forward to answering any questions you might have.
Thank you. Let's start with Representative Callahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And congratulations to you and your family on your nomination. And thank you for coming in. You may have heard Representative O'Day's questions, and I'll pose it to you as well. The importance of treating courthouse staff and everyone who comes before you it's very important to me and many of the members of the committee. How would you address that same question about the affliction of robitis?
I can assure you and the other committee members that I will not be afflicted by robitis. I was raised to be humble and to be respectful of all. I don't believe that I'm better than anyone else. In fact, my entire career, I've served the public as a prosecutor. I've done that in a humble way, and I believe that being a judge presents those same responsibilities, and I would approach it the same way that I have as a prosecutor.
Thank you for your answer. And to follow up, as you also heard the question asked, you could be assigned anywhere in the state, and I'd assume, I shouldn't assume, but this is at least a 9-to-5 job. And I know when my father was on the bench, we'd often have late night callers of police officers, my mother throwing the old coffee pot on the stove. And do you have any problem with being assigned anywhere in the state and working at least those hours?
Not at all. I would do so happily.
Thank you for your answer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Lesser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations, Ms. Gonzalez, on your nomination. It was great to hear your introduction. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. It's common for judicial nominees to have a partisan political background, and I think that's something that we frequently see, and it's I think in many ways a good thing. I think you're the first nominee I've noticed who is a political director of a major party, I was interested in that background, and maybe you could comment on it. But I did take the opportunity to reach out to a friend of mine who works with you at the U.S. Attorney's Office, who thinks the world of you, and assured me that even though you do have that background, that you, and this is a direct quote, you prosecute like a really good liberal. And so I don't know if that's a comment that you would endorse, but that was this person's recommendation to me. So I just wanted to know if you, how you sort of look at your background, and then how you, what your judicial philosophy is, should you be confirmed going forward.
Sure. Thank you for the question. I sort of fell into politics accidentally after law school. I was offered an opportunity to work on a political campaign. I thought it would be interesting and something that I hadn't done before. Unfortunately, as these things go, when it wasn't successful, I was in need of a job, and I was able to work for the state party. I found it to be interesting. With no offense to the committee members, I quickly learned that politics was not for me, and I was very happy to receive a position at the Division of Criminal Justice. I can assure you that my past political involvement would have no impact whatsoever on my ability to serve fairly and impartially as a judge. In fact, as a member of the Department of Justice, we're bound very strictly by the Hatch Act. We are barred from engaging in any political activities. I haven't, and so any of my past political involvement would not have any impact on my ability to serve fairly. With respect to my judicial philosophy, I would first say that it's separate and apart from any past political experience. As I said in my opening testimony, I believe that the important traits of a judge are to be fair and impartial, to treat everybody with dignity and respect, and to allow everyone to be heard. It's a very important time when someone goes into court. I can appreciate that, having been in court almost every day for my entire career, and I will uphold those values if I'm selected.
Thank you. And if I could, through you, Mr. Chair, one more question. You did speak in your introduction about your work with the reentry court. I believe you worked with Judge Meyer on that. Could you just speak a little bit more to that and anything you've taken away from that experience?
Absolutely. Reentry court is an excellent program that is run in each of the 3 seats in federal court, and it's designed to help men who've served long prison terms reintegrate into society in a supportive and assisted way. The reentry court team is made up of prosecutors, public defenders, probation officers, and service providers. We meet every 2 weeks with the men in the program, We usually have a speaker that comes to talk about various areas of interest, whether it be nutrition or finances or job searches. And I find it to be a really valuable part of being a prosecutor. You hear the concept of giving someone a second chance, and it's sort of an ethereal concept, but this program has allowed me to see that in action. I find it very inspiring, and I think it's a wonderful program that the federal courts have been able to institute.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Chairman Staffstrom. Attorney Gonzalez, congratulations. I know you're going to do a fabulous job. Just one quick question. Why the switch from the state system to the federal system?
I really enjoyed being a prosecutor, and I really loved being in the GA. The bustle and the fast pace of it was great. I also enjoyed the appellate part of practice, which I had done early on in my career. The Department of Justice allows us to do both. As an assistant United States attorney, you're responsible for your case from the minute it begins investigation all the way through argument in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. I thought that would be a really interesting challenge while still being able to do an area of work that I was interested in.
And why the switch now to become a jurist?
I've wanted to be a judge since I first stepped foot in court as a prosecutor. I was always in awe of the many judges that I appeared before. And one of the great things about being a prosecutor, in my experience, is the ability to exercise your discretion and to make decisions that are really impactful, whether it be giving someone a chance, agreeing to a diversionary program or dropping a charge, or whether it means making a tough decision and holding someone accountable for something serious that they've done. As a prosecutor, you're limited to the role of an advocate, and so the decisions that you make really can only have so much of an impact. And I've always felt that judges really are the ultimate decision makers, and I would love the opportunity to do that, and that's why I began this process, and I will be very grateful if I'm able to do that.
Well, again, congratulations. I commend Governor Lamont again for his selections throughout the day. I'm sure that you had an opportunity to hear my admonitions to Attorney Alfano, our first nominee. As much as you have a wide breadth of experience and you like the hustle and bustle of GA court, because you have been in a position as a state's attorney and then as a assistant district attorney, to make decisions, I would just say, don't forget that in your first assignment, there's going to be a slew of people, and this is going to be perhaps their very first encounter with the legal system, the judicial system, and their lives are going to be on the line in some way, shape, or form. And even if it's a mere application for alcohol education or accelerated rehabilitation, that's a big deal. And their life is going to take a change of direction. And so while you're going to go there and feel probably a little bit of trepidation that you don't want to mess up, despite all your hard work and breadth of experience, it's going to be a different level of excitement for you and enthusiasm, whereas most folks are not terribly enthusiastic about finding themselves missing work and being there in court, whether they are the defendant or the litigant or they are a loved one of them. And their whole entry into that situation, that physical space, is totally different than yours coming in from a chamber, from a place where people had welcomed you and said, congratulations, and you're going to love being a judge, and you're going to be able to call people on your lunch hour and ask them questions. And so just all I can say is it's heady atmosphere. It's a great responsibility. You bring an awful lot of insights to this position, but that the people that you will be serving, it's a whole different experience for them. And so, to sound really trite, like Casey Kasem on American Top 40, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. I know Senator Winfield said, please don't say that. But I know that you can maintain those ideals and yet still be mindful of the people that come before you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank
I'm
you.
allowed. I'm allowed.
All right, Senator. Thank you. We think. Representative O'Day, you good? Okay. Further questions, Representative Fishbein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Congratulations on your nomination. You know, when you shared the story about getting into politics by accident, very similar. I was at school and I wanted to stay at school for the summer. And I called my father and I said, I want to stay at school for the summer. He said, you got to get a job. And I looked in the newspaper and there was a phone bank for a political campaign. And, you know, I got a job. He created a monster, but I got a job. So I share. Your background, totally in criminal. I got it. It's very commendable. But, you know, in my opinion, judges need to be multi-tools to a certain extent. So, you know, should you be confirmed and your first assignment is in family, what's your reaction?
I will be delighted with any assignment, Representative, and I will handle it just as I've handled having to learn anything new in my career, which is to study hard and be prepared and be ready for whatever is thrown at me. When I went from state court to federal court, although I was a prosecutor in both settings, going into practice in federal court was entirely different than being in practice in state court, particularly going from the GA to the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I was required to learn an entirely different court system, new procedures, new set of case law, everything completely new. So even though I was still a prosecutor, I've already sort of faced the challenge of having to adapt to a new area of the law and a new court system. So I would use the same tools that I did then, and I would welcome a challenge of an assignment outside of the area in which I'm comfortable.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And once again, congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? If not, Ms. Gonzalez, I just want to say you must have a lot of friends in the U.S. Attorney's Office, because Nate Gentile, who is a former colleague of mine, reached out on your behalf as well, and certainly speaks very highly of you. I think among his recommendations was not only do you work as large a caseload as anybody else in the department, you're also the first one to volunteer to cover for somebody else if they have a conflict and need to miss. So I think to the point about working hard and being diligent with your caseload on the bench, certainly that recommendation goes a long way in my book. So congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next up will be Christopher Griffin. If you could raise your right hand for me, sir. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information you provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Great. Have a seat, make yourself comfortable, and feel free to give us your opening statement.
Good morning, Chairman Winfield and Staffstrom, ranking members Kissel and Fishbein, and esteemed members of this committee. Thank you all for having me here today. Thank you also to Governor Lamont for this nomination. For me, it's the professional honor of a lifetime. And thank you to the governor's team as well, who have been so kind and helpful throughout this process. And most importantly, I have to say thank you to my wonderful husband, Jeff, who's here with me today, for making me the happiest person in the world. Just a bit about my background. I went to law school at UConn, clerked for a year, and then went and practiced civil litigation at the law firm of Brown Rudnick in Boston. Later, I returned to Connecticut, and I worked for the justices of the Connecticut Supreme Court, helping resolve pending appeals. And since 2018, I've served as a prosecutor in the State Attorney's Office in New Britain. I'm interested in becoming a judge because throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to work with many wonderful, talented, and fantastic judges. And I became fascinated with the role in the process of judging and the day-to-day job that they do. Judges are problem solvers, and they have to be flexible and creative and take the tools that are given to them under the law to craft the best resolution for a case for all parties involved. Certainly a challenging role, but I think a rewarding one. And I'm mindful at the same time of the enormous impact that judges' decisions and the judicial system as a whole can have on the lives of individuals. When I was a teenager, my father was sent to prison. And as a result, my mother had to take on 2 and sometimes 3 jobs to support me and my 2 younger sisters. We couldn't afford our home anymore, so we had to move to a small apartment in another part of town. When I finished high school, I worked full time and helped raise my 2 sisters while my mother was working. I also helped my mother at work some nights and weekends cleaning office buildings. And to her great credit, she also forced me to stay in school, at least part-time. And even though she died from cancer before I graduated college, I was able to follow the example of her hard work and follow through on her desire to finish my education. Despite our circumstances, we had great times together as a family, for sure. But there's no question that the impact of the judicial system had an enormous change in the trajectory of all of our lives. And as a result of that, I will never lose sight of the gravity of this role, what's at stake, and the importance of working hard every day to make sure we get our decisions right. So, thank you again for having me here today and for considering my nomination, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Representative Josette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And hello, Chris. I just wanted to take the opportunity to say hello, even though I couldn't be with you today, as my constituent and someone I've known for some time. I think this is a fantastic nation by the governor, I must say. I have always found you to be extremely thoughtful, intelligent, of a real serious demeanor, and really the word I think that certainly in this setting I think is appropriate is temperament. We don't often think of people we know in daily life as having a judicial temperament, but when I saw your name placed in nomination, I think it fits perfectly. And I'm not going to steal anyone else's thunder asking the question about Robitis, but I will just say from my time knowing you as someone who is thoughtful, who listens, and is certainly capable of making measured judgments. And I will also say, you know, in recognition of your story, thank you for sharing that. I've known you to be someone who is extremely humble and is capable of being fair, and the last person I would submit to suffer from Robitis. So I don't have any questions. I just wanted to take the opportunity to say hello and to provide my endorsement and enthusiasm for your nomination. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that. It's very good to see you.
Representative Baudet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Griffin, congratulations. I'm actually not going to ask you the Robitis question because of your initial opening. It was quite moving, and I very much appreciate your sharing that. But I will ask you the question that I asked others about serving anywhere in the state, far, no matter how far, and at least 9 to 5. Would you be willing to serve anywhere at least 9 to 5?
Oh, absolutely. Probably longer, knowing me. And I think that's one of the benefits of being a Superior Court judge is you get to go see different courthouses, work with different people, try new areas of law. I'm looking forward to that opportunity if I'm appointed.
And at the risk of, I think I may know the answer, but if you were to try and emulate a Superior Court judge, who would you consider a role model for you if you would?
I've been able to work with a lot of judges, and so it's hard to pick one. But if I had to pick, let me pick 2 if I can, because most recently I've worked in the Superior Court with Judges Alexander and Keegan, both fantastic and experienced judges who, you know, very good at what they do, very dedicated, work very hard, taught me a lot about practicing law and being an advocate and doing the right thing. If I could be half as good a judge, if I'm appointed as they are, then I think I'd be doing okay.
Great. Thank you very much for your responses. Congratulations. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Day, I think you're worried about that commute to Stanford. Is that right? With all these questions about where people go, Glastonbury to Stanford is a tough commute. All right. Next up is Representative Howard.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I put Representative O'Day out to these questions because we have courthouses in New London County, and I think maybe at some point we should remind our friends over the executive branch we have good lawyers down there too, as they look at this list. But perhaps he's just making sure somebody can make it out there once in a while in our courthouses as well. Good morning, still, sir. What a great opening statement. You may have heard earlier in the criminal justice system, and it looks like you work in a JD, not a GA, given what I'm seeing here, the trial that you're on now.
I work in a GA. I'm doing pre-trials in the GA, but I also get to help out with JD trial cases.
Great. The reason that I just want to ask you briefly, your opening statement, as the representative said, is moving. I know firsthand what it's like to have a parent be imprisoned, and I think our criminal justice system, we talk about crimes and criminals, but a big part of it, especially at the GA, is really a social service aspect. And we're trying to help members of our community get on the right path. And it's so, even though you're not from New London County, it is really refreshing for me to see somebody put on the bench who has, prosecutorial experience, who understands what it's like to deal with victims and the impact it has on them, but also has a life experience on the other side to make sound judgments. And as you heard me say earlier, I know that and you would know a significant number of criminal cases are appropriately adjudicated pre-trial. Can you just speak briefly about the judge's role in that between the two sides?
Sure. I think Connecticut is fairly unique in the judge's role in pre-trials. And I know a lot of other jurisdictions actually by rule might prohibit the judge from being involved in pre-trial discussions and plea negotiations. I think that Connecticut bringing a judge in is a very good thing. I mean, if I tell people, if you want to see the separation of powers in action, judicial pretrial in a criminal case is a great way to do it because you have the executive branch represented by the prosecutor who makes the charging decision. You have the judge who gets to ultimately decide what the outcome or a sentence might be, and the legislature is present in the form of the laws that are controlling and guiding everything we do. And I think having a judge involved in the cases, giving their insight into them, being able to listen to the parties is a wonderful thing. And in my experience, to the point you were making earlier, I don't find judicial pretrials in criminal courts, at least, to be contentious. Usually, it's actually normally a collaborative process. It's, the judge says, prosecutor, tell me about the case. We look at the defense attorney, tell me about your client, what's going on, and how do we help this person not come back here? To the social service aspect. That's much of what is happening in those pretrials, and I think it's a good thing to have that approach.
I agree with you 100%. I thank you for being here. I'm excited that you've been nominated. I think you'll do a great job, and congratulations and best wishes to you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Chairman Staffstrom. Congratulations, Attorney Griffin. Just a couple things. Again, I'd like to be associated with remarks of Representative O'Day. It was a really compelling opening statement. And so sort of two questions. A, what motivated you to go to a career as a prosecutor? And B, quite often what I found over the years is that, sometimes your gut would tell you, oh, a prosecutor is going to be tough on criminals and a public defender is going to be, more lenient. And over the years, I've discovered it tends to be the opposite, that there's almost like a compensation. And what I'm looking for is the happy medium, and so I'm just wondering, given the challenges that you faced in your early years, especially with your parents and helping to raise your siblings, why state's attorney? And B, typically, and Judge Carroll can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first assignment is typically a GA assignment, far away from wherever you live, sort of like you start off at that level, and if you can handle all that, then it goes from there. So you're familiar with the GA setting, but what would be your sort of guiding principles as you handle all that? I know it's like problem solving. I know it's like we don't want this person coming back. I was a special public defender for a number of years long ago. I get it, but I'm just want to learn more about what makes you tick and what's driving you because I know you're going to be a great judge. So please answer my question.
You know, onto why I wanted to go to the state's attorney's office. My interest in being a prosecutor actually started when I was in 5th grade. I used to watch reruns of Matlock on rainy days in the summer when I couldn't go outside and play. And I started thinking, oh, maybe being a lawyer and being in criminal court might be a neat thing. The prosecutors were also always the bumbling people, so I felt kind of bad for them. It was Matlock who stole the show. That was where it first got planted in my mind. And then after, doing some civil practice and appellate work, I wanted to get back into the Superior Court. I like working with people. And I wanted to work more directly with folks. I'd heard people tell me the GA is like a social services thing. You're just getting people to services. I've heard people say, you can do more justice as a prosecutor in an hour than a trial judge can do it in a month sometimes, because of the control you have over the cases you bring and the way you can steer them. That fascinated me, and that's what drove me there. And I think in terms of, if I get put in a GA, I am certainly familiar with the subject matter. Running a GA is, it's about keeping it from becoming a circus and keeping it more like a courtroom. And it's a balance between the two. You have a lot of cases going on, and the dockets are busy. So I think it's a constant balance between giving the parties and the lawyers the chance to make their case and listening to what they have to say carefully and respectfully, and then also making sure that you keep that docket moving, because for every person in front of you, there are dozens waiting to have their cases heard. I think it's a constant balance there to do that, and that's something you have to finesse and learn over time.
Well, thank you, Counselor. And as I said to Attorney Gonzalez and congratulating her, it's, and I'm sure you see it, but just try not to ever forget that what is a wonderful privilege and responsibility for you is maybe the worst day of someone's life being in that courthouse, whether it's a GA or Part A or something else like that. And I really appreciate the fact that you'll bring that philosophy. And, who wouldn't like Andy Griffith as Matlock? Probably better role model than Hamilton Berger versus Perry Mason. But yeah, I think that if you just find that happy medium, I'm sure that your courtrooms will be run efficiently, but with great sensitivity and compassion. And I want to congratulate you on being nominated to be a jurist. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Senator Winfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Yes, still good morning. Good morning. So I just wanted to thank you for sharing your story. Given the moment that this is in the life of the people who sit before us, it's often interesting to watch people, whether they tell us their story or recite their biography, and they're not the same thing. When they do choose to tell us their story and they put the care into it, it helps me to further believe the answer to Representative O'Day's question, because it does take something to do that. So I just thought it was appropriate to address you on that, and congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you very much.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? If not, I certainly want to associate myself with the remarks of Chairman Winfield, and thank you for being with us today. And congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Next up will be Wendy Grispin. You know what? I apologize. It's Wendy Grispin. I apologize for reading that too quickly. My mistake. If you could just stand for me and raise your right hand.
No problem whatsoever.
Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information provided to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great, thanks. Go ahead and have a seat, and whenever you're ready, you can begin your opening statement.
Good morning, Chairman Staffstrom and Winfield, ranking members Fishbein and Kissel, and all other esteemed members of the Judiciary Committee. My name is Wendy Grispin. I would first like to take this opportunity to thank Governor Lamont for his nomination and for taking the time to speak with me and placing his trust and confidence in me. I'd also like to thank his General Counsel, Nora Danahy, and her executive aide, Janice Denal, for the warmth and kindness that they've extended to me throughout this process. It is truly an honor to be before you today. It has long been a dream of mine to become a judge. I am ever mindful of all of the people that have helped me along the way and aided in shaping the person that I am today. By way of background, I am the youngest and only female of 4 siblings in my family. My father is an electrician and my mother a bookkeeper in a local sporting goods store, which eventually I and each of my brothers came to work in. When I was 15 years old, my father died of cancer. I know that he would be proud that I am before you today. I'm thankful to my mother for always teaching me the importance of being a good person. I'm extremely thankful to my father's brother, my Uncle Ken, often referred to by my husband as Saint Ken. My uncle is a retired judge in New Jersey and has demonstrated to me the essential characteristics that I believe are essential of being a good judge. Hardworking, professional, respectful, patient and thoughtful, and of course, humble. He's truly been an inspiration to me. It goes without saying, I am thankful to my husband for his constant love and support. I want the committee to know that I appreciate the value of a good work ethic. I worked when I was in high school, college, and law school to put myself through school. I have been in practice for more than 28 years and have devoted my practice entirely to litigation, focusing on criminal, civil, and family law. Having a varied practice has taught me to be adaptable and allowed me to work with a variety of people. I've always appreciated that the people that come to see me are often experiencing some of the most difficult times in their lives, having been arrested, injured, or experiencing family trauma. It's been very rewarding to me to have been able to assist these individuals and their families through such difficult times. I've tried to give back and donate my time to the court and the Bar Association and its various programs. For many years, I have served as a special master in divorce cases and as an attorney trial referee and a judicial fact finder in civil cases. Additionally, I have coordinated the Danbury Superior Court Annual Law Day Ceremony, the annual Regional High School Mock Trial Competition, and served as the Judicial District of Danbury Chair of the State of Connecticut Court Visitation Program. I've genuinely enjoyed these activities and believe that exposing our youth to the judicial system is invaluable. In 2018, I was appointed to the statewide grievance committee. This experience has taught me a great deal and has assisted me especially in appreciating the awesome responsibility that a judge is faced with. If I have the good fortune of being approved by this committee and the General Assembly, I will be forever grateful, and I will work hard to be fair, respectful, patient, to make people feel that they've truly been heard, and to be worthy of the governor's nomination. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, here comes the Danbury delegation. Representative Callahan.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Godfrey. I see your hand up. I'm sorry I got in before you. Attorney Grispin, pleasure to see you here.
As well. Thank you.
Before the Judiciary Committee, and welcome, Attorney Chan. It's a pleasure to see you here. I've known you over 3 decades and seen you work in the courthouse in Danbury. I've seen your work with mock trials. I've seen you bring gaggles of students in to watch our proceedings, and I've worked personally with you on cases when I was chief of probation in the area. I've witnessed your compassion, the thorough work you do, your commitment to the community, and your commitment to the rule of law. So I also see how well you treat the court staff. So I think Representative O'Day would agree. I don't need to ask you the Robitis question because it's clear to me that would never be an affliction of yours. But there is a chance you might have more than a 1-mile commute to the courthouse like you do now. And would you be willing to work anywhere in the state?
I would drive anywhere. I'm so grateful to be here and appreciative. The commute is not a problem whatsoever.
And you do realize that sometimes it's not just a 9-to-5 job, but I assume you'll be willing to work at least 9 to 5.
I've never had a 9-to-5 job in my life, nor would I want one. I look forward to the challenges if I'm afforded them and this opportunity, and it would never be an issue for me.
Thank you. And I don't have a Providence College reference, but we did graduate from Western Connecticut State University together. So it was a long time ago, and you do look a lot younger than me. But thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing the line of questioning. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Deputy Speaker Godfrey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Attorney Grispin. It's a delight to see you here. It's been over 20 years since an attorney from Western Connecticut was actually nominated for the first time to the bench, and frankly, it is worth the wait. Especially for my colleagues, Attorney Grispin has a sterling reputation among both of the bar and in general down here in the Danbury area. She has her commitment and her work, especially in family law, which those of us who are attorneys on this committee know is the most difficult emotionally practice that one could have. I've also come to appreciate your activities outside of the courtroom in your capacity down here, especially with help on Law Day. I've attended more than one of those, and even though things got broken down a little bit by the pandemic, I'm looking forward to more of them. But I just want to say I'm so happy that the governor has nominated you. It's a delight. I'm sure that you'll be an excellent judge, as you've been an excellent attorney in private practice. And I'm looking very much forward to supporting your nomination, not only here, but on the floor of the House of Representatives. So thank you for applying. And I'm so happy that you got through the vetting process very successfully. It has taken us a while. We've been working on this for some time. I began talking with Attorney Grispin that's over a year ago now. But here we are today, and I'm just delighted that you have been nominated and are accepting this position. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted beyond belief. Thank you.
And to round out the Danbury Regional Delegation, Representative Harding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just also want to echo Representative Godfrey's words. It was nice to see the judges list and see a Danbury next to one of the appointments. So I just want to say that Attorney Grispin is exactly what we need on the bench. I remember working with her when I was a very young attorney, very green. And she couldn't have dealt with me with more respect and professionalism and kindness. And that's exactly what we need on the bench. So I couldn't think of a better nominee, and I hope this committee supports her. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chair, sorry.
Questions or comments for Representative Fishbein? It's not from Danbury.
No comment on that particular. I just, you're the multi-tool. Been everywhere. I was very impressed by your opening statement. I'm sure you practiced that more than once. I could see your brain with the outline, this is the next section. And I very much appreciate preparation. And I just wanted to say that it means a lot to me. So congratulations on your nomination, and I'm sure you'll do great. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very much.
Further questions or comments? If not, Attorney Grispin, I hate to inform you this, but the Connecticut Bar Association is actually working behind the scenes to tank your nomination because they're worried they're going to lose you from the court visitation program. So I assured them, though, that I would mention that just because you're going on the bench doesn't mean you can't continue to assist in that manner. I haven't had the opportunity to say this yet, but it is certainly important to me that when judges go on the bench, they do not give up on their outside community involvement. Judges, just like legislators, just like the governor, just like commissioners, are ambassadors of the state of Connecticut and have an obligation to instill in constituents beyond just the role on the bench what the rule of law means, and to stay active and stay involved in community activities. And so I have no doubt that you will continue to do that based on what I've heard from a number of sources, but certainly just wanted to emphasize that a little bit here today to all of our new nominees. But congratulations on your nomination, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Next up will be Justinette Anne Marie Henry. Good morning, ma'am. If you could,
Good morning.
you raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information you provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or on a penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. You can have a seat and make yourself comfortable, and whenever you're ready, give us your opening statement.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Winfield, Chairman Staffstrom, ranking members Kissel and Fishbein, and other esteemed members of the Judiciary Committee. It is truly a privilege and an honor for me to speak with you today as a nominee for judicial office. My name is Josette Anne Marie Henry. First and foremost, I want to thank Governor Lamont for nominating me to serve the citizens of Connecticut as a Superior Court judge. If I am fortunate enough to be approved by this committee in the General Assembly, I will work hard to carry out the duties of a judge of the Superior Court with impartiality, integrity, and respect. By way of personal background, I was born and raised in Jamaica, West Indies. In 1986, I immigrated to Connecticut and 5 years later became a naturalized citizen. Recognizing the abundance of available opportunities in this country, I decided to further my education. College life was very challenging. I worked full-time as an administrative assistant at a busy city hospital in the day and attended classes full-time at night and on weekends, all while raising my daughter as a single parent. However, with perseverance, I earned both an Associate in Applied Science degree and a Bachelor of Science degree, graduating cum laude. After college, I attended law school because I wanted to give back to the community in a different way. And it was while in law school that I first considered pursuing a career in public service. Upon admission to the Connecticut Bar, I started my career in private practice, focusing on juvenile, child protection, immigration, and real estate matters. A few years later, I accepted a position with the Public Defender Division. My work as a public servant has been influenced by many members of the public and private defense bar, impartial judges, understanding prosecutors, and other hardworking court staff. I am very fortunate to have had the opportunity to contribute to our state's criminal justice system by serving the citizens of Connecticut in the Hartford, New London, and New Britain geographical areas, and currently the New Britain Judicial District. In closing, I want to thank my friends and family for their love and support, especially my daughter, Shade, who keeps me humble. I also want to express sincere gratitude to my uncle, Everett Henry, who was the first to immigrate to the United States and then sponsor his entire family. Anything that I may have achieved is a direct result of his generosity and his love for our family. Thank you for your time and for the opportunity to tell you more about myself. I welcome any questions that you may have for me.
Thank you. Representative Howard?
Morning. Yep, still morning. Good morning and congratulations. It's nice to see you. You know, I mentioned New London County. I remember you were down at the GA, down in GA 10 for a period of time.
I was.
A
Thank
few
you.
years back. It's nice to see you again. You
you.
perhaps heard me speak with the other criminal lawyers that were before us, and we spoke about the pretrial conferences and how pretrial adjudication is as you would know, I'm sure, that's how most of our cases are handled. Can you just speak briefly about a judge's role in the pretrial conference and how important those pretrial conferences are in our system?
I think that the judge's role is very important, and I think that having the process of being able to discuss a case with a judge, sometimes there is no meeting of the minds with both sides, the state or the defense, and a judge plays a crucial role in helping to mitigate the the disagreement between both parties and actually come with an offer or a suggestion down the middle that is acceptable to both sides, that is acceptable to the victim and to the defendant, or to the the state. So I think that the process is helpful. It does help to move the docket also. And I will say that my experience working down in New London and appearing in front of Judge McMahon, who the late Judge McMahon, who was a great judge. If asked the question as to which judge I would emulate, I would say that I would take a piece of Judge McMahon. He was very effective in moving the docket, in resolving cases. When when the state and the defense could not come to an agreement, and we would always try to put the case on the docket in front of Judge McMahon, and we would have a resolution in front of him. So yes, it's a great process. I learned a lot from appearing in front of him, and I think that a judge plays a crucial role in the pretrial process.
Well, thank you for your answer. You may have heard me say earlier that two of my favorite judges, one came from the defense side, and though it is the late Judge McMahon, he was one of my favorite judges in my 20 years in law enforcement that I had the opportunity to be to know and be before and be in his courtroom on numerous occasions. So to hear you say that you would emulate him is frankly all I need to hear. So congratulations and best wishes to you.
Thank you.
Representative Baudet.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your testimony. As you probably heard me ask the robitis question, some judges unfortunately are afflicted with robitis once they get on the bench. So how would you assure us that you will not become afflicted with robitis should you be elevated to the bench?
Well, Representative Ade, I will tell you, I will not have robitis. I come from a very humble background. As an immigrant coming into this country, I have held several different jobs. My first job in this country was as a cashier, and I worked my way up, sent myself through school and law school, and now I've been fortunate to be a public defender and serve the citizens of Connecticut. I do not see myself different from anyone else. I tell my clients that I am just like them. I've had a relative who have been through the criminal justice system, and fortunately for him, he has served his time. He's received a pardon, and he's moved on to be productive and successful in his life. I think the principal reason why I would not have or suffer from robitis is because I was raised to respect everyone, to treat people with respect, that I am no better than anyone else. I was also raised to be humble, and I was raised to care about other people, to care about the people around us, and to care about the sufferings of other people. So I am just a humble nominee for judicial office.
Thank you very much for that response. My only other question, if I may, Mr. Chair, are you willing to work at least 9 to 5 anywhere assigned in the state of Connecticut?
Well, right now, I usually work until 6:37, 7 o'clock in the building. I will say Attorney Griffin, who was before me, sometimes, when I'm leaving, he's leaving also. He's leaving the courthouse. And I have practiced in 3 different jurisdictions. One of the reasons why I first started my career as a public defender in Hartford, and I transferred to New London, which is quite a drive from where I was living at the time, and now I'm in New Britain. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to get the experience of working in different environments and learning the different unique cultures in Connecticut, because everywhere that I've practiced, I realized has a very unique culture. And I enjoy meeting different people and working with the different attorneys that I work with and met in those jurisdictions. So to answer your question, I am ready to go anywhere that judicial sends me, because I want to help and serve the citizens of Connecticut.
Thank you very much for those responses, and congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative Day, I keep waiting for somebody to answer the question no. Maybe by the end of the day, we'll get one. All right. I am going to turn this over to Senator Winfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good. Well, we're right on it. Good afternoon. I just wanted to go back to your information about your history. Did you say that while you were in school, you were also raising your daughter?
Yes.
While you were working full time?
Yes.
Wow. That was the only question. I just wanted to get clarity on that. Glad to see you there.
Thank you.
Comments or questions from other members of the committee? Comments or
Mr.
questions?
Chair.
Representative.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And Attorney Henry, congratulations. And from one Cooley graduate to another, we could probably have an entire conversation about those experiences.
Yes.
I graduated in '96, so I think I was headed out just as you were coming in. But, you know, I know that that law school has prepared you for any challenges that you might meet, and I'm highly confident that you're going to do an excellent job on the bench, no matter where you serve and no matter what docket you're handling.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Quinn.
Thank you, Representative. Comment or question from other members of the committee? Comment or question? Seeing none, thank you very much for joining us this morning/afternoon. Next, we will hear from Scott M. Jones of Hamden. Good afternoon, Attorney Jones. If you'd raise your right hand. If you might, do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information you provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
You may provide us with your statement.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Winfield, Chairman Staffstrom, Ranking Members Kissel and Fishbein, and other distinguished committee members. It is my distinct honor and privilege to appear before you today. I thank Governor Lamont for nominating me to serve as a Superior Court judge, and I thank his staff, particularly Nora Dennehy and Janice Denal, for their guidance along this process. If approved by this committee and the General Assembly, I will work hard to justify the confidence that has been placed in me. By way of personal background, I was born and raised in New Haven. I'm a product of the New Haven public school system. I was raised by a single teenage mother who made education and academic enrichment a priority in my life. My grandparents provided love, support, and modeled consistency and work ethic, which created a legacy upon whose shoulders I stand today. I benefited from very involved aunts, uncles, and extended family, alongside my two younger sisters, all of whom are very much a part of my development. I'm also blessed to have a lifetime mentor who keeps me grounded and mindful. I am truly a product of the tribe. I attended several elementary and secondary schools and lived in numerous residences with my mother throughout my formative years due to financial hardship. While the frequent changes, hardships, and lack of stability was challenging, it caused me to develop resilience and an ability to adapt to new circumstances. These experiences are the foundation of my perseverance, work ethic, compassion, and empathy. During college, I enlisted in the United States Army Reserves and simultaneously participated in the Army Reserve Officer Training Corps at UConn. My military service helped me develop accountability, respect for the rules, and respect for the chain of command. After law school, I immediately began working in the Connecticut Division of Public Defender Services. My 29-year career in the Public Defender Service, mostly spent in New Haven, went by quickly and has been filled with memorable moments. I developed a reputation for zealous advocacy and competent representation. I tried many cases with increasing complexity over the years, and ultimately, I was appointed to the leadership position of public defender for the Judicial District of New Haven, which is quite the honor given the history and reputation of that office. I am the proud father of 3 girls, 2 of whom are adults who are thriving. My oldest 2 daughters are the product of my first marriage, and I'm grateful to their mother, who suffered an untimely death in 2020, for her encouragement and support during my pursuit of a law degree while she simultaneously pursued her medical degree. My youngest daughter is the product of my second marriage, and I thank my wife for her companionship and all her support for raising our children, developing a family life, and supporting and encouraging me in my career pursuits. I've served on several boards, committees, and commissions during my legal career, and this service has afforded me an opportunity to establish a broad network of contacts and participate in a variety of diverse activities. And I've gained much from these experiences and it will make me more well-rounded if I'm confirmed to be a judge. In conclusion, I've been blessed with the support of family, friends, colleagues, and mentors throughout my life and legal career, and I owe much to those who have pushed me, guided me, supported me, and stood by me. My temperament and the breadth and diversity of experience that I bring to bear will favorably affect the quality of service I hope to provide the citizens of the state of Connecticut as a judge of the Superior Court. I respectfully request your approval, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you, Attorney Jones. Representative Odette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Attorney Jones, for your testimony. And I know the answer to this question based solely on your opening remarks, but I'm going to ask it anyway. One of the things that we have concerns about as a committee is the affliction of robitis after a certain number of years. Based on your opening and your remarks, I'm confident that's not going to be an issue. But just how could you assure other members of the committee that you will not be afflicted with robitis upon elevation to the bench?
Well, first, I'd like to just flat out answer I won't be afflicted with robitis, but secondarily, it's really inconsistent with who I am and who I know myself to be. And fairly humble people have been congratulating me for however long the nomination has been out. And it's just inconsistent with who I am. And my motto is, but for the grace of God, there go I. So
Okay.
that's the most assurance that I could give you.
No, that's fantastic. And are you willing to serve anywhere assigned, at least 9 to 5, anywhere in the state of Connecticut as a judge?
Absolutely. And probably my colleagues back at work are laughing because I tend to stay at work far too long, and I come in on the weekends and I say I'm not coming in, and then I show up. So I will definitely be there.
Well, thank you very much. And I just want to say the candidates that have been before us so far have been one of the best classes that I can remember. And I just want to congratulate you on your nomination, and those that are coming next. You've got quite a high bar to get over. But thank you, sir, so much for your testimony and your service to our military and to the state of Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And I would agree with your sentiment about the candidates in front of us. Representative Walker.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Attorney Jones, for coming before us today, and congratulations for your nomination. I just want to say it's a pleasure listening to you talk about your humble beginnings, and also expressing how you had your village to help you and to evolve into who you are today. So I thank you for that, and I hope that you continually remind all those that are coming behind you that that's how we successfully build a community. I saw in your report that you served in New Haven on the youth court for a couple of years. Could you give us a little idea of what the youth court was?
Yes, and thank you for the question. It is a restorative justice program for, it's a diversionary program for children who might otherwise go to juvenile court when it existed. And it was an opportunity for them to have a matter adjudicated before a tribunal where an attorney would act as judge, but then students would act as advocates and other students would act as defense. And the entire jury was all students, some of whom had previously participated in the program. And it was a way to resolve a matter in a restorative way and have the person who came before the court perform community service or get tutoring or other things, but also have the victim come and also meet with the alleged defendant at the time and reach a sort of agreement about the harm that was caused and move forward without involving the criminal justice system.
Representative Walker, 1 second. Attorney Jones, if you could just direct that mic more at yourself. I think you can be heard, but you are a little low.
Okay.
Representative Walker.
Did you hear my response, Representative Walker?
Yes, I did, and thank you for that. And I guess it's sort of the foundations of what we do with the juvenile review boards, because it's also embedded in the balanced and restorative justice model, especially for the victims, so that the victims have a voice. So Did you find that it was successful with the people that came into the courts?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And it's still going on right now?
No, it ended a few years ago prior to COVID, and
Okay.
that was my response.
Yeah, no, I think that maybe that's something we should talk about later. So thank you so much, and thank you. And I wanted to be able to congratulate somebody from New Haven for being nominated, since everybody else is congratulating people from their community. So thank you, and congratulations for your nomination, sir. Good luck. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Representative Walker. Representative Howard.
I have not been afforded the opportunity, Rep. Walker, to congratulate anybody from New London County, since they're not anybody on the list from New London County, but we'll address that later. Attorney Jones, congratulations, and thank you for being here. Good afternoon. You've probably heard me ask several lawyers that have come before us, or nominees that have come before us, relevant, who have experience in the criminal justice system, about the importance of those pretrial conferences and those pretrial adjudications. I think your previous answer, your dialogue with Representative Walker, sort of answered that question. But I didn't know if you wanted to speak further about a judge's role in that, in understanding the victim side, but also the goal of having the defendant rehabilitated and back into society and getting to the root of the cause.
And your question is about the judge's role in
The judge's role in a pretrial conference. So generally in pretrial conferences, you have, in my experience, you have a prosecutor who represents the state, but also with a sort of an interest in the victim's interest and understanding of the victim, the impact on the victim, while also the defendant and the defense counsel trying to represent the defense or the defendant himself. And I feel like the judge, well, I'll let you answer. Does the judge what role does the judge play in that?
I think the judge's role is multifaceted. One of the primary objectives, I would think, is to manage the docket, because you have to move the business, but also to resolve the matter if you can, short of trial. I mean, a large percent of cases are resolved prior to trial, at least in the criminal context. And so to make sure that discovery has been given both ways, to assess the value of the case and determine if some kind of amicable solution can be reached short of trial. And if not, then to push the case towards trial, yet to a different courtroom, often in a different docket, and it's managed differently with an eye towards when is it next up for trial. So that's the judge's role, in my opinion, in pretrial context.
Thank you very much. Congratulations and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Howard. Representative Fishbone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, I didn't hear your answer. I know the youth court in New Haven went away. It appears that it went away shortly around the time that you say you were involved, through 2019. How did the program go away, and therefore your involvement went away, or did that happen? Did your lack of involvement with the program happen before the program went away?
So I was a youth court judge, but I was also on the board of directors, and there were two major things that needed to happen in order for the program to continue. One of them was to continue to get referrals from the referral source, but secondly, funding, and both of those dried up, unfortunately.
And that was a locally funded project, if I recall.
Wherever we can get funds.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was strictly limited to the New Haven area receiving funds. Wherever funds could be had, we would utilize those funds and pay the one staffer that we had to coordinate with others in order to get referrals. And then also on the tail end, if an order was entered at the end of a youth court hearing that services were needed, then funding was necessary to pay for those services, whether it be tutoring, counseling, things like that.
Yeah, understood. And you know, it appears in some communities where they have a JRB and this process that they're both looking for the same sort of funds. But you know, the other benefit that I find with those kind of programs like the youth court is not only is the individual who's accused and the victim being heard, but the kids that are on the jury that are making the determination, they're learning a lesson too, and totally different than the JRB process. So I thank you for your involvement with that. You know, one of the things on your resume, you know, I think you're the only person who's come before us here today that has some sort of military background, and very much appreciate your service to our country. I'm trying to just figure out in the context of your resume, because it appears that there's an overlap between schooling and the military service. Can you just iron that out for me?
Sure. So I went to UConn between 1984 and 88 undergrad, and in 85, December 31st, saw one of those Be All You Can Be commercials, and I went straight down and I enlisted. And I had been in the Air Force ROTC prior to enlisting in the Army Reserves, but I ended up at the Army Reserves, and then I switched over to the Army ROTC. So I was called an SMP candidate, a simultaneous membership program candidate. So when I was, I went to basic training, and I was E1 as a private, and then I got promoted to E3, which I think is a private first class because I had college credits. But then because I was an SMP, I became an E5, which is equivalent to a sergeant, but I was a cadet. And so I was doing both reserve training at the 439th Quartermaster Unit, which was located in New Haven on Winter Green Avenue at the time. And I was at UConn, and we had our Army ROTC courses and our advanced camp and all these other things that we had to do. So that by the time I graduated from college in 88, January of 89, I was commissioned second lieutenant. So there was overlap.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for that, and congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you.
Thank you,
very
Mr.
much.
Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Fishbone. Comment or question from other members of the committee? Comment or question? Seeing none, Attorney Jones, it's good to see you again, and congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next, we have Tara Knight.
I had COVID a month ago, and my cough has remained quiet until I've approached
Until
you
right
all.
now. Yes, I get
So,
it. If you'd raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information you provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
You may provide your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Winfield, Chairman Staffstrom, ranking members Kissel and Fishbein, and other distinguished committee members. I am privileged to be nominated for a position on the state judiciary by Governor Lamont. I come from humble roots. My mother was one of 9 children, raised on welfare by, for all intents and purposes, a single mom. My dad, my wonderful father, has a 10th grade education and a criminal record. He has been imprisoned, and I recall visiting him when I was a child. And I was surprised to hear that somebody else before you was similarly situated. My grandfather was raised in an orphanage called the County Home in New Haven. So I do come from rather humble roots, not a blue blood here. I'm one of the first in my family to graduate college. I was raised first in Hamden, then in Orange, and I now live in New Haven with my husband, Hugh Keefe, who is here with me today. I graduated Fairfield University and Suffolk University Law School in Boston. After law school, I worked as an associate in 2 firms, handling all types of cases, including divorces, evictions, landlord-tenant, personal injury, and criminal matters. After 3 years as an associate, I decided to open my own office in New Haven. I eventually came to practice criminal defense law exclusively as a private practitioner. It was a difficult but satisfying journey for a young woman in what was at the time a very male-dominated area of law. This will mark my 32nd year as a lawyer and 29 years running my own firm. As a criminal defense attorney, I have practiced throughout the state in virtually every single jurisdiction. I have tried cases to verdict before juries as sole counsel, including matters such as murder trials, larceny trials, kidnapping trials, sexual assault trials, and again, sole counsel to verdict in front of a jury. I also have a significant federal practice. I believe I've been successful in my endeavors and have received many tributes for the quality of my practice, including being listed in the Best Lawyers of America, receiving an AV rating from Martindale-Hubbell, being admitted into the American Board of Criminal Lawyers, which is by invitation, and elected to the board of directors of the National Board of Trial Advocacy. I have taught trial practice at the Yale Law School for 9 years. Several months ago, I was honored to be named a fellow at Saybrook College at Yale University. I am in court representing clients every single day, and I see judges at work. To me, a good judge is a judge with a good temperament. That is the most important quality. I believe that judges can do tremendous good and help people in society when they exercise their tremendous discretion and power that is bestowed upon them. I believe people should be treated with respect and dignity and have equal application of the laws in our courts. I truly believe that at this juncture of my life, given my experiences, I can help people more now as a judge than as a lawyer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Knight. And you did quite well, given that your cough is returned.
Thank you.
Representative Odette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Attorney Knight, for appearing for us and for your testimony.
Thank you.
I had the pleasure of serving with your significant other on judicial selection, and he was very proud of the fact that when we were on judicial selection, only less than a third of the candidates that came through judicial selection got through.
He told me that.
Yeah. So, and I've often quoted your significant other here. He's somewhat of a mentor of mine, I would say. So I'm going to ask you the same question I've been asking everybody.
Sure.
I think I know the answer to this, but how can you assure the members of the committee that should you get elevated to the bench that you would not suffer from robitis?
It's not my nature. The thing I hate most in the world are bullies. It's one of just my pet peeves. I come from regular folk. So I'm not someone who thinks I'm better than anyone else. I think I'm humble, and I think modestly I'm kind. So I don't think that will be a problem. I can assure you that.
Thank you very much. And I think the person sitting behind you wouldn't tolerate it either if that ever did happen. But and my last question, and I know we've got a lot of candidates here, but are you willing to serve anywhere in the state, even Stamford, Connecticut, on the bench if so assigned?
Is the shopping mall still open? Yes. No, absolutely. When I've tried murder cases, we have a saying in my house: when Tara is on trial, everyone's on trial. And I work 7 days a week, night and day. I will do whatever it takes. Happy to do so. Privileged to do so.
Thank you. And I assume it would be at least 9 to 5 is not a problem.
I've never worked 9 to 5.
Well,
meaning I've worked more.
Yeah, understood. And I thank you very much for your testimony, and congratulations to you and your significant other there.
Thanks so much.
It's good to see you.
Same here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative O'Day. Representative Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, Attorney Knight. Thank you for coming today, and I congratulate you for your nomination. I think you'll be an incredible asset, and all the work that you've done in New Haven has been wonderful. And I thank you for being honest about where you come from so that we all understand that everybody has to have a different experience in order to have a more balanced unity. So thank you for your nomination, and I look forward to hearing continued great things for you, especially in juvenile court. So thank you.
It means a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Walker. Representative Howard.
Hey, good afternoon, Attorney Knight. Good afternoon. And congratulations. As you've probably heard me ask previous nominees, I think that we lose track in the state, both as maybe even as a legislature, but certainly as members of the state, how much work gets done in chambers and how much work in the criminal justice system gets done by mutual agreement of all parties, but sometimes it doesn't, and the judge plays a significant role in the outcome of those. Can you just speak briefly about those pretrial conferences, those pretrial adjudications, and the role of a judge, and how you can take your defense experience into that?
Yeah, being a pretrial judge is so important because the dockets are so overloaded. There's so many people coming into the system that if everyone were to have a trial, we know that the system would collapse. So it's important for a judge to forge agreements. So I can't emphasize enough how important it is for the plea bargaining process to take place. Having said that, there's still a place for trials. And I look at it personally as a shame that there aren't more trials. But there's no doubt that part of the system is to move the cases along and for judges to forge agreements that both sides can live with.
Thank you so much. Congratulations and
Thank
best
you
luck
so
to you.
much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative. Senator Ciccarella.
Thank you, Senator. And I don't have any questions, just wanted to make a brief comment. I had the privilege of working with you professionally in New Haven. In that time, you were always very professional and a pleasure to work with. And I'm sure that you'll do a phenomenal job and be an asset to the courts. And I just wanted to congratulate you.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me again.
Thank you, Senator Ciccarella. Representative Fishbein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Attorney Knight.
Good afternoon.
I see that you brought very competent moral support here today.
I think he knows your dad, right?
He might. He just might. And I can certainly commiserate with the statement that when Tara's on trial, the whole house is on trial. In fact, my wife is flying out tomorrow. It's get out of the house,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right.
So anyway, there's two things though I wanted to ask you about.
Sure.
In your questionnaire on question number 21, asked, have you ever been arrested? And you very candidly responded about an incident when you were 14 years old. But the characterization of the action, I question.
You want more details?
Well, I just...
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, it's...
I took my parents' car out. Now that's
right.
Dad, said it's okay,
not
and
when
the
you're
cops
14.
found me, and
Yeah.
that's illegal, or
Yeah.
something else.
No, it was something else. It was more involved. I took my parents' car out at 14 without their permission. Who would think that this would ever come back at 56 years old? But these things follow you. I took my parents' car out when I was 14 for a joyride, essentially, and I got into an accident, and the police were called. And my parents retained the law firm of Lynch, Traub, Keefe, and Arante to represent me in juvenile court. And at the time, I was a straight A student. I was a cheerleader for the CYO, and it eventually was dismissed.
Okay.
So,
And then the other thing is your working with normal, which you and I may agree fundamentally on whether or not a plant should be legalized, but we are still faced with the Supremacy Clause.
Sure.
And certainly state court judges do make determinations on constitutional issues at times. So I guess the question is, does the Supremacy Clause exist, or is it only to be employed when is convenient?
it does exist, and it's such an odd time that we live in, given the legality of marijuana, but yet we have the federal laws that are just the opposite. In fact, the sentencing guidelines are based on a marijuana amount. Everything's converted to a marijuana amount. It does exist. As a trial judge or as a GA judge, I don't know if I would ever be called to deem a statute unconstitutional. But if I did, I can assure you that my personal beliefs or opinions would not come into play, and I would conduct a constitutional analysis free of any personal beliefs, bias, or favor.
Because certainly no court in this country has found what Colorado, Washington, this state has done to be lawful.
Yes, I would agree.
So that case, should it be submitted, may be submitted to a state court judge who would have to, should go with the Constitution.
And interpret the statute according to its plain meaning. And if the plain meaning isn't clear, to look to the concepts of construction to interpret the statute and make a call based, again, on a constitutional analysis, not on personal opinion.
Well, I guess under the Supremacy Clause, though, you don't even get to that analysis, because if it's in direct conflict,
Right.
A federal law says a product is illegal, and the state says the product is legal. Supremacy clause says you don't even get to look at statutory construction, right? It's
Haven't done that recently, but you're right.
understood.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
just trying to frame that because, I have asked that question before of judges looking to be on higher courts, but I know that case, should it be filed,
That's a tough
it's
question.
going to come to a state court. Yeah. And you're the only one who had something on there.
Right, about normal.
That raised it. And, I've been involved with normal. I've known about normal for
Sure.
years, but, why the feds don't do something is not normal.
It's interesting though. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
an interesting conundrum we're in. Yeah.
But I was happy when I saw your name on the list, and
Thank you.
I've seen your work from afar, and I have to say, when I reviewed the backup, we ask, as submit 3 documents that show that you're practicing or that you are actually a lawyer. I was impressed by your writings.
Thank you.
I thank you because I do read that stuff, and very
I was
well
worried
done.
you were going to grill me on it because people just put in very quick little motions to just show their, and then I put in what I thought were my best works. And I said, oh no, Representative Fishbine's going to start grilling me on constitutional issues, but thank you for not doing that.
I did a
You
gentle,
did a little bit.
very
Yeah.
easy constitutional issue. But I thank you. Thank you.
Thank
and
you so much.
Congratulations on your
Thank
nomination.
Thank you, Representative Fishbine. Representative Palm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Attorney. Thank you so much for your comments, and I share my colleagues.
I'm hearing you.
You can't hear me?
No.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
We've lost sound, at least from you.
I can hear her. Maybe it's in the room.
Because I'm not on mute.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
We're just getting buzzy, fuzzy sounds out of you.
It's a.
Thank you. That's a very collegial thing to say. I feel the same about you. I don't know. But Jillian and Rep Walker, Rep Gilchrist can hear me. So that's.
We can't make it out, Representative. All right. Can someone else who's Representative Gilchrist or Representative Sims, somebody try to speak.
Can you hear me?
You're a little better, but not much.
Okay.
How about me? Can you hear me, Gary? Gary, it's Tony.
Yeah, we're not getting much from you either, Representative Gilchrist.
No.
We have some technical issues. We're going to stand at ease to see if we can get those rectified. So if everybody could just hold on.
And it's like, I know you do your homework. Yeah.
And I was going to signal you to go outside and play.
Oh.
Check 1 2 1 2.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call back to order the Judiciary Committee public hearing. Obviously, we're experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties with the Zoom technology. We are going to try to reboot everything. So for members who are online, on remote, we are going to stop the Zoom at this point. So everybody will get kicked out. And then if you could give it about 30 seconds and then try to log back into the. We're going to try to get out and start over again and hope that fixes it. All right, so everybody can log out at this point, and we'll try to log back in, and we will stand at ease while we do that.